In the last section, we discovered that we have to somehow take our deck type and figure out how to reduce it down to a byte slice. So we just made a function called toString right here. It has a receiver of type deck, and then it should be returning a string. So let's figure out exactly how we're going to do this. So step one is we're going to take this deck and we're going to turn it back into a slice of type string. To do so, we're going to use that same type conversion thing that we looked at just a moment ago. So we're going to say take, or what I want to have, the type I want to have is going to be a slice of type string, and I'm going to pass in the value that I have, which is D. Remember, that's the receiver, that's the actual deck that we are operating on. So this right here is going to return me a list of strings, or a slice of strings. Now we are able to do this conversion right here of a deck to a slice of string, you'll recall, because our deck type essentially is a slice of string anyways. So we can freely kind of convert back up the chain here to the type that we extended from. So with this statement right here, we have a slice of strings. Now the next step is to somehow take that slice of strings and condense it down to one single string. And so this actually won't be that bad. I think that what we can do is take that slice of string and we can just join every value inside of it with a comma in between each value. So in other words, if we have a slice of string of something like red, yellow, and blue, I'm thinking we can just condense this down to a string of red, comma, yellow, comma, blue, like so. And so that's what we're going to do to turn the slice of string into a single string. Now we don't have to do that actual conversion process manually. There is another little helper package that we can make use of to take this slice of strings and join them all together automatically. So again, let's dive into our Go documentation. I'm going to open my browser back up. I'm going to go back to the IOUtil documentation. I'm going to go back out to the big list of packages. Here it is right here. And I'm going to look for a very specific package called strings. So here's strings right here. The package strings has some very common functions for kind of working with or dealing with strings, as you might be able to guess by the package name. So if we look at the documentation and then scroll down to the list of all the different functions inside of here, there's one very interesting looking function called join right here. So we'll click on it and check out the documentation. The join function takes a slice of string, which is exactly what we have, and it joins them all together to create one single screen, In between each element inside of the slice of strings, we place whatever we pass in as the second argument. Sep right here is short for separator. So basically, if we call strings.join, or if we call this join function right here, and then pass in as a second argument a comma, it will take our slice of string and reduce it down to one single string. All right, so let's flip back over to our code editor and make this happen. Now the first thing we have to do here is make sure that we import in that strings package. So we have to import that before we try to make use of that function. So up at the top of the file, you'll notice that we've already got an import statement for FMT right here. To import in multiple libraries, we do not write in a separate import statement like so. Instead, we're going to wrap our existing import statement with a set of parentheses. We'll put this onto a new line, like so, and then right underneath it, we'll list out every other package that we want to import into here as well. So for us, we want to import in the strings package. So we'll say strings, like so. You'll notice that we are not separating these by commas or anything like that. So we just list out string by string with no separator in between them, all the different packages that we want to get access to. So now back down at the very bottom here, inside of our toString function, we can now access that join function right here by calling strings.J join. And as soon as I type out join, you'll see the autocomplete kind of kick in here. And that's kind of your signal of, okay, yeah, looks like we're going down the right path. So now as the first argument, we'll pass in our slice of string, which is the statement that we just added right here. So I'm going to cut that, paste it in as the first argument. And then as the second argument, I'll say, hey, I want to join everything by a separator of a comma. And the separator is supposed to be of type string, and that's why we're making it a string. Okay, so strings.join right here is going to take our slice of string, join it all into one single string separated by commas, And we need to make sure that from the toString function, we eventually return something of type string. So I'm going to add in a return statement right there. All right, so we'll now save the file. When I do not see any errors, so it looks like we're okay. Let's now test this out inside of our main.go file. So I'm going to flip back over. I'm going to remove that little play around statement we have right here. I'm going to make a new deck of cards. So I'll say new deck. And you know what? We can probably just delete everything that we've commented out already. So I'll make my new deck, and then we'll call cards.toString. And of course, I want to print this out to the terminal to make sure it's working correctly. So I'll say fmt.println, and then pass in the result of toString. Okay, so let's save this and test it out. I'll flip on over to my terminal. We'll run go run main go, and don't forget to include deck.go on here as well. And then when I do so, we get out our comma separated list of cards. And so this right here is one single string. So now at this point, it's really easy to imagine how we're going to really wrap this up and make use of that IOUtil function. So let's go back to IOUtil right here, right to file. So at this point, we have a string consisting of all the data that we want to save to our hard drive. So now the last thing we have to do is turn this into a byte slice, which we've kind of already seen already, and then call this write file function. So let's take a quick break and tackle this in the next section.